drainage primarily in the Duryea area and in West Pittston as well. And of course, this festival is physically in the city of Pittston, but it services all of our area, which is why you're here, because we know that people from Lackawanna County, people from Luzerne, people from Wyoming are all going to want to come to the RiverFest. How did the RiverFest concept get started?
Well, one day, I'm into mineralogy, and I also cut and polish gemstones, and I was going to approach the city to see if I could put on a demonstration down at the park, because the park at that time was not being utilized, and I realized that there was not enough interest in someone learning how to cut and polish a stone, so I contacted a bunch of other people, and we got together and formed a coalition and put the RiverFest on.
And the Riverfront Park is something that is relatively new as things are. Alexandra, that actually is a walkway that goes right along the river.
Right, it goes right along the river, right off of Kennedy Boulevard.
Right.
It's a very nice open space, benches, a walkway. There's even a little path to walk up to where the Knox mine disaster occurred.
Right,
and
a
we'll
walking
get into
trail.
that as well, a walking trail.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've
along
taken
the
advantage
river.
of that. It's really great.
Yeah.
And this began to grow then from that first demonstration to where we are now. We'll get into some of the many things that are being offered at RiverFest in Pittston this year. The date this year.
The 20th of September, which is a Saturday, with the rain date the next day, the 21st, on a Sunday.
21st.
But
All
pray,
right.
pray we don't have to do that.
All day too, 10 a.m. until 4 p.m.
So day-long, fun-filled activities at RiverFest, and a theme, which I find very interesting and which a lot of our audience, I know, is interested in, and that is the theme dealing with the Civil War. Now, I don't think that people necessarily think of the Civil War when they come into Pittston,
Right.
but, and yet there are a lot of connections. Well, Joe, why the Civil War theme?
Well, as you said, people are interested in that, and we were able to come across a bunch of people who like to dress up in Civil War costumes. The particular man in the picture here is doing a study on the veterans in our area that were veterans of the Civil War.
And apparently we had a lot of them.
Absolutely. And this year we're going to be very fortunate. We're going to have between 15 and 20 enactors dressed as different generals. They all assume a different persona, and they will be there to speak to the people and explain what their jobs were and how things were at that time.
So if you come to the Pittston RiverFest, you may be able to walk up and talk with Robert E. Lee.
No,
Are they Union or Confederate?
Union.
I think it's just primarily
Well,
Union.
then they'll have to speak with Ulysses S. Grant.
There you go.
Or General Sherman or the like.
There you go. There you go.
And these are folks that are actively involved in Civil War reenactments.
Absolutely.
They're very authentic. Some of them have sidearms and sabers that literally date back to the Civil War. And I know some of them even will balk at the word costume. Some of them have
Sure.
have actual uniforms.
Right.
But that's something that people can count on when they come to see it. You brought a couple other photos along, and I know one of the things, and kids always love to get involved in something like this. You get a ride, but this is more than just a ride in a tractor-drawn wagon. You're actually heading out to a purpose.
Absolutely. We are taking these people down to show them where the Knox mine disaster happened.
All right, now let's remind, we can't assume that everybody automatically
Exactly.
knows about the Knox mine disaster, but it was a mining accident that literally destroyed underground mining throughout this area of northeastern Pennsylvania with regard to mines that individuals went down and pulled the coal out. And that happened technically speaking, not in Pittston per se, but very nearby.
Yes. And was just, I remember when I was there that day that happened, and I was up the old Pittston Hospital looking down, and the river opened up. They dug too close to the bottom of the river, and it formed a whirlpool there, and they were putting boxcars of any kind of thing they could do, and they were shoving them, backing them out into the river. They'd spin around these big boxcars that they had falling 1.5 times, and it would disappear. And it took quite a lot of fill to go ahead and at least plug it till they could build a coffer down there.
Right, some of the most notable footage of those railroad cars, pardon me, being dumped into the Susquehanna River whirlpool were done by Jack Scannella, who was a veteran photographer at WDAU and WYOU TV. But the fact is that the festival is set up in such a place, as Alexandra pointed out, where it leads right to the trail that leads to the site of that disaster. And as I recall the trail, there is a monument there to the men who were lost. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, there is. Yes.
And then if you cross the tracks, you can go over right to the river bank where those cars were literally dumped in. Now, you can only do that during something like this festival, I believe.
What I believe, if what we had last year, we'll have the tractor going all the way down along the river walk towards the disaster, and someone will be there to give a bit of a presentation. And again, the theme is, free education for the whole family, about cultural aspects of Pittston. So there will be a person there kind of guiding and showing exactly where all of this occurred, and there will be a presentation at the main site along the RiverFest as well. And then you kind of take a ride back and enjoy the view as well.
That's really great for the kids who, again, don't remember the actual incident happening, don't have the faintest idea of the tremendous impact it had on our local economy, and yet there it is, and here are the remembrances that they're able to see. There are other types of activities. Now, this looks like it's Indian artifacts. And we talked about this on your last visit, Joe, because people don't always recall. We talk about remembering the Knox Mine disaster. People certainly don't remember that the Susquehanna River was Interstate 81 for Indians, Native Americans in our area. And I'm gathering that you're still finding things.
This archaeological society, the Francis Dorrance chapter, has been digging over there in Clarkston for approximately 25 years, and they keep going down in different levels, and they keep finding artifacts, and they're preserving these things that they were untouched because that was a railroad yard, and nobody built on it. One person, they did find in an old home of one of the settlers, and they moved over and were digging there also to see what type of artifacts they could find.
So they'll see some of, some of those type things at the Festival of the River.
Yes.
Absolutely. Some of them are there in that picture.
Arrowheads, tomahawks, things like whether kids are going to be thrilled to see something like this and realize that they came from literally their own
Just
backyard.
down the road. Right, exactly.
Now, as festivals go, Pittston's RiverFest is somewhat new. There have been other things that have been around for a lot longer. How has it been received over those first 6 years of presentation?
It's been growing every year, and each year we're getting new additions to demonstrate there, which I'd like to mention. It's all free.
Right.
These people are coming there, doing this, showing them, and it's not costing the people anything. This year, a new feature we're going to have, Bob Savokinas, who has done a thing on the Rocky Glen, for instance.
Oh, Rocky
and
Glen.
A lot of people still remember Rocky Glen, would like to hear about it, and he's going to give the whole demo on that. And I think that's going to interest a bunch.
Yeah, fortunately, Rocky Glen, although not preserved physically, has been preserved in terms of a lot of photographs and memorabilia. And for youngsters that may be watching and don't remember it, that was our Knoebels.
Our modern day.
Up
Right,
in this area, and it was a very, very active park. Eventually, evolved into a place called Ghost Town in the Glen, and then of course we lost it ironically at the time when Montage Mountain was being developed and the baseball stadium was coming in, so kind of bad timing along those lines. But I think that's an exhibit people are really going to look forward to.
Very interested in it, absolutely. And I think one other thing that is new this year that we didn't have last year would be Mrs. Thomas Jefferson, right?
Oh.
Yes.
Now, what's that?
We'll leave it up to Joe.
We are having a woman portray Mrs. Jefferson.
Ah.
She's going to walk around in period costume and explain how things were with her and the president and things of that nature. This is new again this year.
That's great. Teachers ought to be thinking about bringing classes, telling them, here's a weekend assignment for you that you really enjoy and it's free anyway. So
I like your idea.
You're getting
Maybe some teacher will come and get that idea and say, well, and run with it.
Well, I know from discussions on our program here on other occasions, one of the things we tend to miss is our own local history.
Absolutely.
And here's a chance to get involved in some of it. Now, I don't want to neglect the arts end of things because you're also going to have a number of art-related presentations during the festival. Here you have a photo paper marbling demonstrations with Don Rash that was, I guess this is probably from last year's
Yes.
RiverFest presentation.
Yes.
So what did they see with something like this?
He has just from what I saw, I didn't get to the explanation, but he has a tray with water in it, and he puts different types of dye. It looked like a waxy dye in there, and then he runs the paper through this, and then hangs it up to dry, and then no two are ever alike. And as far as the art in that particular case, we have Jan Lakuta. He does a giant mural with the kids. He outlines everything, and then he has the children come by and fill it in.
Oh, so the kids are actually
Oh, they're involved. Actually, yes, they are involved. And, maybe I could go down quickly and give people an idea of what we're going to have there.
You just happen to have a
Okay.
little menu for the day there.
Yep.
So,
Well, I told you about the Civil War generals, Mrs. Jefferson, and the Rocky Glen presentation. The mural for the kids. We have a lady, Cecily Rose. She's going to bring her group of spinning wheel ladies.
Cool.
And the guy from West Pittston named Dan Hyde, he's going to show people how you do caning. Weaving the old seats for the chairs and things of that nature.
almost a lost art, but fortunately some people have picked up on it.
And Mineralogical Society of Northeast Pennsylvania
Now
is
that's
going to have...
really weird.
That's fine. And they're going to have, one lady does a demo on gem tree making, and there'll be some displays of different minerals there. We also have another person that belongs to our club, Dave Millis. He's going to teach the children how to wire wrap a stone. And they will walk away with a stone pendant and that they themselves have made.
Right.
And Robbie Flowers, he's our coal mining expert. He's going to have all kinds of artifacts and talk about coal mining in our region. Jim Masura is going to do a fly fishing demo.
That's very neat.
Sure.
You talked already about Don Rash and the paper marbling. We've had talked about the hayride. That's going to be there. We're going to have the Native Americans. They'll be dancing and singing and chanting and...
I was just about to ask you about music.
I was just going to say music is part of the other theme of the day as well.
A specialized music, though.
Absolutely.
No, well, beside the Native Americans, we have the Prospective Church of Pittston. It's a choral group. They don't only do church music. I mean, they sing all kinds, and they sing all day long, and I think they have more fun than the people listening to them. And Dave Kohler, he has colonial artifacts. Rich Portier is flint napping.
Flint napping?
Yes, and then we go. I'm
Why don't
glad.
you explain a bit of...
Yeah, well,
Flint napping means making arrowheads. It's taking a piece of flint and dressing on the ends. Sometimes they use the horn from a deer, antler from a deer or something, just to knock the edge out. It gives a conchoidal fracture, and that's how makes it sharp. Which I forgot here. Is Shane Kleiner and Angie Colasar. They're going to bring, they rescue wild animals and then get them back to health and then put them back into the wild. And they're going to be there with some animals.
So very fun for the kids.
Yes, yeah.
And we talked, Bill Watson, the guy you showed there, he's going to talk about the people that were veterans in our area. And I'd also really want to give a nice thank you for the city of Pittston, who allows us to use the park. They help us in every way, shape, or form. They bend over backwards to go ahead and see that this thing gets put on.
Well, I've been very impressed with what's been happening in the city of Pittston. There's been a lot of redevelopment work going on. You have the Tomato Festival, which has become one of the biggest festivals in the area in, again, fairly short terms, fairly short number of years. You started a new parade this year.
St. Patrick's Day Parade.
St. Patrick's Parade, which doesn't conflict with any of the other big ones around. That's always a hard thing, just scheduling. Probably even in your case, when you schedule, you want to make sure you're not up against.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we want to utilize the outdoors. You know, there's this wonderful park on the river. That's why it's called the RiverFest. Bringing together some elements of the river along with free education and history of our area. For families.
Now, picking up on that, there is a general conception that the Susquehanna River isn't very nice, that it's not very clean. I want you two to address that.
Well, I think that's a misconception, and I think Joe would agree. And even before going on, Joe talked about how he's been fishing since you were 10, right?
Yeah, I've been fishing on the river, and in the last 3 years, I have seen more bald eagles on that river than I ever saw before in my life.
Which is a sign of
The river's healthy.
Right.
They wouldn't be there if the river wasn't healthy.
Well, a part of the reputation, it comes from two things. First of all, it comes from the coal mining days, which are now long gone, in part thanks to the Knox mine disaster. And also, of course, the Butler Mine Tunnel, which is at Pittston, where we had some dumping that affected the quality of the river. But as I recall, there are now a lot of monitors right in that section of the river to make sure that there's not more coming. Am I wrong?
They have a wire going around with buoys on it, and if anything starts to leak out of the Butler Tunnel, they will immediately put a type of screening there to stop, or at least most of it. I'm sure they won't be able to stop it all.
But the main thing is you're now on watch for it so that the river basically can be clean. And I think that's something, when you see it as something that is clean and usable. Now, I've seen boaters there on my walks in the area. And you may have been in one of the boats. I don't know.
Yeah, they have it.
And I've seen people fishing from either bank, either the east or west side of the river. Then you get to start recognizing and couple it with something like this festival, that it doesn't have to be a liability.
Exactly.
It can be an asset.
Absolutely. And it's right there. And that's the wonderful part about it. There's this beautiful park along a river, and, we should be using it and educating people about it as well at the same time.
And do you, the very title of the group that you're representing is a coalition. So that suggests that you're getting input, for instance, from West Pittston, from people in the immediate area.
Well, and I think even from what Joe was saying, how it came about, the Mineralogical Society, the Historical Society, different elements of wanting to bring together to promote something like, what are our resources?
Right.
What is our history? What can we talk about? That's a joint effort for everybody together.
And it's the old story of when you work together, you can get so much more done.
Sure.
But I think due to the aspect of us putting on a cultural thing. That's why the city really jumped on it, because as you can see, we have a lot of changes in our city, and that seems to be the road that they're taking, which is a good thing.
Well, you've got condominiums going right up along that riverfront. So certainly people who are eventually going to want to move in there are going to want to see a clean river
Sure.
and nice activities in the area. We're talking about the Pittston RiverFest, officially the 7th, and that is going to take place on September the 20th. It's a Saturday. And just in case there is a rain date, and that is the following day?
That's right.
Correct.
It's the 21st. So I can't talk you into running this festival for 2 days. I do this with practically every group that comes on with a one-day event.
We would like to have it 2 days, but security is a big problem there. I mean, at night, unfortunately, you have some undesirables inhabit
Well, you have
the park.
valuable artifacts
Yes.
that are here just for this particular presentation. Give us the time schedule again for
Sure.
everything.
It's Saturday, again, it's starting at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, it's just an educational opportunity to bring your families out and learn a little bit more about not only Pittston, but different societies that Pittston holds, and bringing together all these wonderful demonstrations and displays.
And it's free. All the
Right.
demonstrations are free.
Now, there's vendors there. If you're hungry, you'll be able to pick something up if you so choose. Or you want to bring your own sandwich down
Absolutely.
You
and
ready?
sit on the bench. You
Yep.
can enjoy that and get all of this information all at the same time. What are your hopes for the future of the thing, Joe?
I just like to see it keep growing. I mean, I'm getting old, but I want to see things keep going on. Maybe someone will remember me
Well, you know,
for getting this started.
you know, you have new venues in downtown Pittston now. It would be no problem probably to expand east of the river itself, and you know, some bands that might be able to play there and things like that.
I would love more groups to utilize the park. That would be a benefit to everyone. It'd be a benefit to the city, because now you have more people, more eyes watching the park, and less vandalism, which we've had in the past. And the more usage, the more eyes, the better the park's going
I
to
know
be.
the walking trail is used quite a lot,
It is.
Yes.
and that technically starts in the park. Well, I don't know if it joins it precisely, but you can certainly start
You can certainly
in the
walk.
park.
Yeah.
You're going to, with all those presentations, going to be spread out kind of thick in that one area.
Well, we try to spread them out as best we can. We're starting to utilize the lower area now, because we're getting more demonstrators.
Now, when people come, one of the things they always ask, what about parking?
At this present time, we seem to have enough parking. Quinn's across the street has not yet complained when people use that over there. We do have some golf carts. We have some members driving some people down onto the park. People who have a little problem walking and everything, and once they get down there, then they're on the level. And if someone needs a ride down, we can do that.
It sounds very exciting, and it sounds like something that is really a family fun event, Pittston RiverFest on the 20th, and I'm hoping wherever you're watching us on ECTV, you'll take time to go and enjoy it. And you can invite them yourself. There's the camera.
Well, I would like to see you people come. If you need any more information on it, feel free to call me. My number is 883-2784, or you can dial 88-EARTH.
And is there a website
I
or a
was just going to say,
Facebook page?
there's both, I believe. It would be GPCC of PA.org. Again, that's the Greater Pittston Cultural Coalition.
Okay, thank you so much, Alexandra and Joe, for joining us again, and we'll look forward to next year when you come back. Tell us about even a bigger RiverFest that'll probably run for 2 days.
So.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I'm David Cosmo for ECTV Live. Thank you, Mark, for making us look in focus today, which in my case is always a challenge. And until we see you again next week on ECTV Live, I'm David D. Cosmo. I hope all your news is good.